So we're talking about energy, frequency, and vibration, how it affects us and how it affects our reality, the world around us. So it's very, very important information and a very good concept to understand. Nikola Tesla talked about, and I've shared it in my other videos, Nikola Tesla talked about how if we understand energy, frequency, vibration, we understand the secrets of the universe. So this is very powerful information if we are aware of it, if we implement it in our lives and understand that this is the world that we live in, okay? So if you've watched the other videos, welcome back. If you are brand new and just clicked on this video, welcome. I hope that you found the right place and that this is the information that you're looking for. So over the course of these first few videos that I'm sharing here on this platform, I'm going to be talking about 21 ways overall about how we can raise that vibration and tune into a higher frequency. So in each video, we're going to share a few different techniques and tools to implement in your life. And in this one, we're going to have 5 different tips and techniques that you can plug into your life so that you can help raise your vibration. So why do we even need to raise our vibration? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't need to watch this at all. Maybe you're living in abundance and prosperity and peace and joy and love. So in that case, then maybe you don't need any of these tips and tools or reminders, right? Because this is not something I'm making up. This is information that's already been there. I'm just sharing it from my point of view and my personal experience. So why is it important, or why would we need to raise our vibration? Because we all are born high vibrating humans, right? There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to change. We are just born that way. But then we are conditioned. We land on earth and then we're conditioned. You know, think this way, believe this way. This is what your God looks like. This is what your language looks like. This is what your culture looks like. This is where you live. This is all this conditioning that happens, and it can suppress our vibration. It can suppress our openness, our ability to let our guard down and open our heart and experience the world around us. So as we tune into this awareness of raising our vibration and shedding and unlayering some of these conditioned beliefs and implementing these ways of, when we raise our vibration, we're able to see more clearly. So we're able to see where these places in our life are not serving us. So that's the whole point of raising that vibration. And then once we do that, once we have this open heart, and once we're more clear with this mind-heart coherence, then we're able to tap into that frequency, that natural radiating frequency that we already are. We already are that frequency. We just maybe have times that it's dampened. And I've certainly had plenty of those, and which is why I organized and wrote these tips and tools down that I've collected over the years and that I've read about and studied, because I needed a reminder. I needed to be reminded of what works for me when I need a little boost, when I need a little help raising my vibration again. So today we're going to go over 5 new tips and tools as part of the series of ways to raise your vibration. So for this one, we're going to jump right into faith. So faith, trusting the unknown. So when we have this faith, it's like a muscle. So the more that we begin to just have faith in something, just know that it's going to happen, know that the universe has our back, know that we're always taken care of. Because if you think about it, all of these experiences that you've had in your life, some may have tried to kill you. Some may have been your dark night of the soul. Some may have been the hardest times of your life. But where are you? You're here. You're alive. You're breathing. So some of the roughest times of our lives, we've made it through to the other side. And, you know, you can look at your life over and over again and you're like, I don't even know how I got out of that situation. I don't even know how I was able to come out of that dark place. I don't even know how I was able to pay my mortgage or my rent or buy food. That I have no idea how I came out of that place. And that repeatedly over and over the years, if we actually bring our awareness to that and understand that more, it builds this faith in us to operate in our fullest potential, because we understand that no matter what happens, we're always taken care of. So when we have that faith, as Yeshua talked about, faith of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. If we have this kind of faith, then we can move freely. Then we can operate in our gifts, because we know that whatever this energy, whatever this source, whatever this fabric of essence that we're surrounded by and that is within us and around us, whatever that is, it's got our back. We're taken care of. So faith helps to strengthen that. Faith helps us to walk in love. Faith allows us to open our heart and just walk in love. So faith, I think, is an important thing for this list of ways that we're raising our vibration and tuning in to that higher frequency. So forgiveness is the next one. Forgiveness, what forgiveness does is it opens our heart. When we are holding a grudge towards someone, when we are not loving someone or not just have a grudge in our heart and resentment in our heart, it's not hurting the other person. It's affecting us, and it's closing down our heart. If our heart is closed, then it is impossible to have this flow of energy, this mind-heart coherence. It's impossible if we don't have that forgiveness taken care of, if we haven't unblocked that, if we haven't cleared any resentment that we have in our heart towards anyone or anything, that can block us. And it can block us from love. It can block us from peace. It can block us from abundance, prosperity, joy. It could be the block for anything. It can be our block to source, to God, to Goddess, however you want to refer to your higher power. It can be that block. So once we clear that up, and once we have this openness in our heart, just to forgive and let go. And this can be a really tough thing, because a lot of times what I have found is it can be one-sided. It can be completely one-sided, and the other person refuses to, acknowledge a certain behavior, or it could be you refusing to acknowledge, or me refusing to acknowledge a certain behavior. It's all about getting clarity on it and opening your eyes to it the best you can from your perspective. And I think those intentions go a long way. So we don't necessarily need the other person to forgive. So when I'm talking about forgiveness, it's both sides, right? So it's not about just asking for forgiveness from others, but it's also forgiving ourselves. So it's a combination of both. So we have to forgive ourselves for the things that we've done wrong. We're humans. We fuck up. It's part of the process. We make mistakes. We'll make more mistakes. If we're still here, we're going to make more mistakes before we die. It's just the way it is, okay? So with that in mind, it's a two-way street. So it's really about just forgiveness in our heart, just openly loving no matter what. And this can be a challenge. I've had a situation where there was something that was very profound that happened in my life, and it really changed the trajectory of my life. I was young when it happened, and it was a very traumatic event that changed the course of my life. And it was a family member that had done this, and because of that, we'd always had like this little block between us. There was this uneasiness, there was this little bit of conflict, there was this distrust, at least on my end. I didn't trust this person, because how could I? Because of what they had done. And I'm not going to get into specifics or try and narrow it down to who this person is, but I will say that decades had passed. And so there's that time of space of this holding, both of us holding this, and it finally came up one evening. And we brought it out and put it on the table and talked about it. And what I learned in that moment was one, that person didn't even think the event happened. They had completely closed it out of their mind as if it never even happened, and projected onto me that it was my imagination that had happened. And the turn of events that happened, she had a few things that actually did happen, and so the event did happen, but just not in the way that either one of us perceived that it did, right? So there was nothing for her to think that she needed to ask for forgiveness. And in fact, I think she was waiting for me to say I was sorry for what had happened. So we can have these different perceptions, and with every single situation in our life, we're going to have a different perception. There's just no way around it. We all have different viewpoints. We have different eyes. We're looking from a different lens. We have a different background. We have different experiences. We're all going to see the same exact situation differently. It's just the way it is. And if you give a bunch of time to it, yeah, it's a totally different event that happened, right? So long story short, it's not that short, I had two choices that I could do at this point. And this was a very learning experience for me. I had two choices. So one, I could recognize the effort that was being done on this person's behalf. I appreciated that. But at the same time, something that affected my life in such a negative, profound, I say negative, I don't know, it was supposed to happen, but in such a way that it made my life a big struggle because of this one event. It made, a lot of years a very big struggle for me because I was a child when it happened. And I could say, you know what, F her, I'm done. Burn the bridge. I'm never speaking to you again. Go along your delusional way. I could have done that easily. And that would have been okay. I could have said, I forgive you, but fuck you. I could have done that. Absolutely. Or I could say, you know what? I just have to accept this. This is the way that this person sees this. I have to accept it fully and just love her. That's it. So I had those two choices, and I did weigh those two choices, trust me. And it just became very apparent for me, either from my higher self, from God, whatever it was, it became very clear. This is the time to rise. This is the time to forgive and love, period. Don't bring it up again. Let it go. This is what happened. Move on. And it was a very healing time for me because I finally had my breakthrough, because I opened my heart to forgive a situation that was never going to have any kind of closure, that was never going to have any, I'm sorry, there was never going to have any of that. It didn't even happen, apparently. So what it did, it was a very healing experience for me. And I do believe that most of us have situations where we're holding unforgiveness in our hearts, and maybe we don't see it because we haven't thought about it in so long. But we can open up our hearts, we can open up so much if we just allow to be what to be, with forgiveness in our heart and love, and let it go. Forgiveness is so good. So let's go on to community. So quickly, community is probably one of the number one things as far as longevity goes, as far as health benefits, and just feeling our best as a person. We all are wired as humans to have that sense of belonging. We're just wired that way. And since the beginning of time, we've all needed that community. This can be a tricky one because there can be so much dysfunction and abuse in some communities that we're born into, right? So community can be wherever you choose for community to be. It doesn't have to be your bloodline, right? So With that being said, oftentimes it is your bloodline, because those are our greatest lessons, those are our greatest teachers. Okay, so if we can work through, while we're here this time, through the issues with our bloodline, I think we get a little bit further along on this path. But they've done studies on these blue zones across the planet, right? I'm sure you've heard of these blue zones where they have a high number of centurions who've lived over 100 years old. They're super healthy and vibrant. And what is it that they do? So they looked at their diets, they looked at their environment, they've looked at all these different things to figure out what brings this longevity in human lifespans. And one of the biggest themes that they found across all blue zones was the community factor. So they all had these tight-knit communities that supported one another, right? So community is so important for that feeling of love, that feeling of belonging. And so maybe you're seeing this theme. It's really the number one thing, and we'll get to that later, but that open heart, that feeling of love really opens up all of it, right? So community helps us to open our heart, to feel safe, and to be able to, again, be who we are, operate in our gifts, and walk in that love. Not only, acknowledge that love, but walk in love. So movement is our next one. And movement is a great way to raise your vibration. Movement can be all kinds of different forms. It can be yoga, it can be dancing, it can be swimming, it can be going for a walk. Any kind of movement, what it does is it literally moves around our vibration. So we're these moving particles, these moving, vibrating particles. And so when we move, we are shifting our vibration. So that's why if we are feeling yuck, or if we're feeling tired, and there's no reason why we should be tired because we've had enough sleep, we've been eating, a lot of times if we just get up, go outside and go for a walk, we feel better. Why is that? Because we are moving and shifting our frequency, our vibration, which helps in turn raise that frequency. So when we move our vibration, we are literally moving and shifting our vibration. So movement is so simple, so simple. And we all know it's true. We all know it works because we've done it, and we know if I just go walk for a few minutes, I feel better. We all know this. If we show up for our yoga practice, if you do yoga, I know that once I get into my yoga practice, I feel better. So yeah, movement is a really good one to instantly shift that vibration. So with the movement, we also have to include rest. So rest allows us to integrate everything that we're talking about. If we're not resting, if we're not taking the time for that integration process to happen, then we're just scattered all over the place. We're continually, we have to have that yin and yang. Otherwise, we're just like yin, 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 going forward and pushing our way through life. Rest is the way that we balance that out. It's all about balance, right? Rest is how we balance that out and give ourselves a chance to catch up with ourselves and integrate. Because all the information that we get, all the teachings that we get are nothing without integration, without applying it to our life. It's just a bunch of no. It's nothing. It's just words that mean nothing to us if we are not integrating. And the only way to integrate is to have that rest factor. And that can be, our good sleep. That's so important. Tuning into that circadian rhythm. It's very helpful to have that good sleep pattern. We go to sleep around the same time, we wake up around the same time, and we try and stick with the sun cycles. We're waking up a little bit before the sun and going to sleep a little bit after the sun. Tuning into that circadian rhythm is going to help our sleep much better, keeping a dark room, trying to keep out any kind of noise pollution, light pollution, anything like this. And yeah, getting that good sleep, and then maybe just taking a day off a week, which is rest day. I've had times where when I've shared my home with family members, and we had one day of silence where we just it was fully rest, no talking, and that's dramatic. I'm kind of dramatic sometimes, but that full rest, a day of just rest, can be a very, very beautiful thing. So those are the 5 things that we're covering today. And to raise your vibe and tune into a higher frequency. If you are interested in digging in a little bit deeper, which if you're here, you probably are. And I know that when I'm looking for certain information, of course, I want to dig in deeper and find out a little bit more. And I go into all of these techniques, tools, methods a little bit deeper in my book, Vibe Shift. So if you want to order a paperback copy, you can go to Amazon and get a paperback copy there. Pretty much anywhere around the world you can get Amazon, I think, these days. But just search Vibe Shift, 21 Ways to Raise Your Frequency. Or if you want it now and be able to integrate just what I talked about just now and with the other videos that I've been sharing, then you can go to the link below, and that'll just take you straight to a link where you can just buy it and then have the ebook right there and immediately, and you can follow along with these. And it's a workbook format, so you can go in there and there's journal prompts and things that you can really work with it and move through it in that way to really get it into your being, into your reality. So I appreciate you watching today, and there will be some more videos that I would love for you to also watch, so that we cover all 21 ways, and you can kind of see how they play together and how it really creates a story with ways that we can just implement in our life and tune in. All right, so it was great to connect, and hope to see you soon.